Alright guys, we are round bale and it's Wednesday, July 9th. It is kind of a weird day. I mean, it's cloudy. Got this hay raked up. This is what I mowed the other day after I got the disc buying fixed. So I mowed it on Monday. And we got a little bit of rain yesterday. But not a lot. And then, so I was gonna bale this today, and I actually thought about square baling. I've only got just what I had left in the field, so it'll be like, I thought maybe about two loads of square bales, you know, 200, 250 bales, something like that, maybe 300. But the sun just isn't coming out. The sun was out real hard for about 10-15 minutes, and then now it's gone. It looks like it's going to rain. Both my watch and my phone both say it's like a 5 or 7% chance of rain, so not very likely, but possible. I just watched a little. I went back home, had lunch, just watched the very beginning of the local, well, Elmira News, which isn't, it's like, you know, 40 minutes away, and they said, well, there's a chance of pop-up shower, but not much rain. So we're baling this. I think maybe we'll make about 20 bales, maybe not quite that. So I'm not going to be able to get it to dry to square bale, so I decided to round bale it. It's green. It's green. You can see green wads in it here and there. It's nice hay. It's got, smells nice. So I'm gonna try to wrap some. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just gonna do like a little short video here, kind of talk about it a little bit. I got the Farmall 70 here with the bale wagon. Got the 966 on the wrapper. I already tried it. It spun it, so I think it's all right. Can't find the 3-point hitch, the third link for the 966, but I don't really need it to wrap. I need, that's only if you're gonna pick the whole thing up. I think that'll be fine. Usually I have it hanging up in the shop, but I'm pretty sure one time I borrowed it for one of the other tractors. I can't remember if I borrowed it for the 70 or what, and had it down at the sugar house and took it off and left it down there. The 966 doesn't have a 3-point hitch holder. I believe that tractor originally had a cab on it, and I'm pretty sure the 3-point hitch link, the third link holder, is on like a tab or whatever that comes off the back of the cab. The 986 has a third link on it and has a holder. But I could borrow the one off this tractor to put on there for today if I want to. Probably do that. Probably just grab this one just in case I need it. Because when you're wrapping with my wrapper, you use the arms, just pick it up, and the wrapper has like where it comes unhooked and it allows it to hinge, and just pick up your two arms far enough that it tips and rolls the bale off the back. So you don't really, the third link is just so you can pick up the bale mover and actually move the whole thing. So we're gonna try it. We'll see if it works. Loader's going up. 20 bales or so. I'm trying to figure out, how long it's gonna take me. One of the things with wrapping is it takes a while. I got mud on. Takes a while to move the bales and wrap them. It really would be nice to have another person to at least haul the bales so then I could wrap them, or vice versa. But I'm gonna do it by myself, so that's why it's like, you know, 10, 15, 20 bales. It's probably, you know, that's probably doable. If I don't get it wrapped all today, we got softball practice. I have to grab something to eat, you know. I want to be at the field at like 5:30. It's 12:30 now, so should have time. But if I don't get them all wrapped today, I could probably wrap some in the morning or just not wrap them. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. But if I had an extra person, it would make it just a little bit easier. Or even an extra tractor, so then you wouldn't have to unhook. So right now I'll have to load the bales on the wagon, take them up, unhook the tractor, use that tractor to load them on the wrapper. So that's where it'd be nice to have one of those fancy wrappers with the remote control and all that stuff, but I'd rather have the $25,000 or $30,000, which I don't have anyway. I like my wrapper. I think it does a good job. I don't wrap enough. You know, I didn't wrap anything last year. So I mean, I like it. I just want to get a little bit of, you know, this hay right here is good hay to wrap. It's not that dry. Actually, it's probably better as baleage than it is as dry hay. You could tell the color difference. I mean, this bale has been sitting here a couple days, but that bale is green. So you know, I want to do steers, so I have 4 or 5 bulls. Got one steer that he should have been banded a while ago, and actually I don't remember when it was, maybe May, April or May. I got him in and I went to band him, and I have a what do you call it, I can't remember the name of the brand, but it's a tri-bander, and it's a bigger band, and that works for all my other ones, but I could not get that band on him, and just wasn't big enough. So then I bought a California bander, and I don't know, it just, I don't know if guys out there have them or not, but you hold it in your hand and you wrap the strap around your hand, then you hook it back in this, and man, I thought that it's just really hard to hook it in that part. You can't hardly see, you know. I don't have a chute where the side opens or anything like that. So I was reaching up actually from behind him, trying to do it, and I just couldn't do it. So I finally I mean, they're expensive. You order a bigger bander, which can do up to, it's supposed to be able to do up to 3,000 pound bull. It was $350 or something like that. And I was like, well, you know, I could do him. Plus I could do my big bull. I got my bull, I think my bull's 4 this year. And could band him, I might band him, or sell him as is. He's a nice bull. He was raised by a family that took him to the fair and stuff. Now they didn't take him to the fair, but they had, you know, I don't know, 4 or 5 cows, or not very many cows, and they'd have calves, and they handled them a lot. So then they kept having them after the kids quit taking them to the fair, I guess, and they still handle them a little bit. That one didn't start, but it did now. So I have a little clump on that one. For some reason, the one side didn't start as much, as quick. So get him banded, and I got 3 or 4 other ones barnyard's kind of a mess. The cows messed up. We had those cattle, wire mesh cattle panels or whatever on posts, and over the winter they finally messed them all up. So I need to get some panels, and we had the posts. The posts are pounded in. Need to get some panels and put them inside the posts, and then get it so you can get them in the barnyard, then push them in the barn, and then from there push them in the chute. So Vander's supposed to be here tomorrow, I think. So no, Baler just barely hits that ground where it's muddy there. Likes to throw it all over the place. So get that tomorrow, then get a day where cows are, they've been hanging around the barn, but I need to get it where I can catch them. And get him in there. And he's actually, I mean, he gets out once in a while, and but he's not real wild. He gets right to shoot. He gets right to shoot real nice. So at least he did the last time. He stood there, and I just couldn't get the band on him. We tried for a while. Oh, that one didn't cut. That's what the problem is. Huh. All right, well, we'll pick back up with you when we do some wrapping. Got the one side didn't cut or something. So I'll get that taken care of, and we'll pick back up when we do some wrapping, all right? We'll be back in a little bit. Alright guys, we're back. We're still round baling. For some reason, when the needle came back over on the one side, the string actually missed the cutter. The string was on the far side of the cutter for some reason. So I just had to cut it and pull just a little bit down so the next bale would catch. So I made the next bale just fine. So we're going to do other kinds of videos. We did the video with the pitching machine with the girls. We've done 3 of those now. I have a video about my Roomba iRobot vacuum. You know, I think that there's more, you know, because I want people to know, you know, there's more to life for me than farming. I am a widower with 3 little kids. You know, I probably won't do anything. I am a school teacher. I teach 5th grade. I probably won't do any videos about that. But other things that we do, you know, the fact that we have Roombas, iRobot vacuums for the house to go out and vacuum up the house on a schedule, daily or every other day or whatever, just to help me out. You know, is it the greatest vacuum on earth? No, but it goes out and it cleans up a little bit of dust. It cleans up a lot of dust that isn't going to get vacuumed because I don't have time to vacuum, you know. And then you can go through and do a little bit of vacuum with a different vacuum or of a deeper clean once in a while. Once we get the house, I mean, the house is just crazy. I mean, it's been chaos ever since Rachel passed away. Things that she would normally do that, you know, aren't done and stuff like that. Once we get the house more manageable, we'll probably hire somebody to clean the house, you know, once every week or every other week or something. Do more of a, you know, dusting, vacuuming, kind of do the bathrooms, you know, kind of a deep clean of some of it once a week or every other week or something. That would be nice. But right now, I mean, it's just, there's stuff everywhere. So you probably won't see very many videos of inside the house. We'll say that. But you know, pitching machine, the robot vacuum. I'm gonna do some videos on my DJI stuff. You know, things that and I'm not doing it to review it, to make money from anybody, anything like that. Just kind of like I made a video, which will be out before you see this one, about the iRobot. You know, they replaced my vacuum for nothing. It was giving me trouble, and I finally had time, and I got on and I chatted with him, and the guy, at first he said that he couldn't do anything, that it was available, I was eligible for a replacement, but they didn't have one. And I said, well, you give me a different one, you don't have to give me the same one. And it was kind of weird because he said, well, I'm going to send you an email. And then so he sent me an email, and I replied to the email, and then he never wrote back. And then I think I finally sent him another one, like, hey, when am I going to get this vacuum or whatever? And I think it was about 3 weeks, and then I think it was last week. Anyway, it came on Monday. The replacement vacuum came on Monday. A different person was they fouled up with it, and it's the exact same vacuum that I had. And I don't know if it's actually refurbished or what. I mean, it looks brand new. I don't think it is. I think it's actually brand new. I think that it was probably, they quit selling that model for some reason. I'm not sure why. Let's go through the mud. They quit selling that model for some reason. I'm not sure why. I picked it because it's supposed to be better at doing corners, but I like it a lot. We just had trouble with the wheel, and then it kept giving us air all the time, so it stopped doing it. It wouldn't finish the job, and it gave me an air all the time about the lid. But the one I got, I mean, it looks brand new, so I think it is. I think it's probably one that they had overstocked somewhere. It came from a different warehouse or something. So we're gonna have 3 of them. We'll get the third one going here. But you know that I've done videos on my 4-wheeler, you know, working on the starter. I got some videos coming up for just things that are, you know, I've seen other people do it too. I've seen Grumpy Farmer do a video about, did one about a couple different things. One about a light that he got for his outside his shop. Mike 7810P did Mike P7810 did a video about a jump box, which I have 3 jump boxes. But the one he had a air compressor, and he pumped up the tires on his, I think it's a Betty chopper. That's pretty cool. I mean, I looked that up. Next, if I buy another one, I probably will get that one. I was looking at buying the DJI Power Pack, and I watched the video on it, and then I was like, yep, I'm going to buy it. It was on sale. And of course, now they released 2 different ones now. They have the version 2, which is supposed to be, I'm not sure what all is improved about it, but it charges faster for one, and something else. It's got a couple different features on it. Looks pretty much the same. And then they just released the 2000, which is bigger. I don't know if I need a 2000. I'm very happy with the 1000. Right now I've got that hooked up to the skid steer. Hooked up to the battery charger, charging the battery on the skid steer again. The other day I did the same thing, and the battery, so the charger I have is a Schumacher. It's a nice battery charger. When you put it on there, it automatically knows the kind of battery and sets the voltage and all that for you. So the other day I put it on there. It's been Monday, whatever day I bailed. Anyway, put that on there, and it charged up to like 60 some percent. Can't remember what it said. It'll give you the percentage. The battery charger will give you a percentage. So I thought, well, if I do that another day, get it more to closer to fully charged, then maybe it'll start. Maybe that's why not everything's working. I don't know if there's a fuse problem or not. So I go to charge it today, hook it up to it, and it says 35%. So now I'm wondering if it's something is shorted out and it's losing power, and that's why I've had to jump start it. because last time I thought, man, I ran it for, I don't know, 2-3 hours. It should have charged enough to start itself, but it didn't. And probably the last, I don't know, half dozen times or so, when I have used it, I've jump started it. So now I'm wondering about that, whether something's not quite right and it's making it lose power somewhere. All the switches are off. You know, I don't know what it could be, but so we got it charging today, and I'm hoping, I didn't try to charge it yesterday. I'm hoping I can get it. It's been charging since I started raking, so it's been charging about 3 hours, almost 3 hours. So the charger can probably run it for about 5 hours, maybe. For the DJI power pack dies. I'm not sure. I think it might be drawing less. Actually, it might be only drawing 60. So yeah, so it could run it for about 15-20 hours. Which I wouldn't mind trying, but you know, I don't want to rain. I don't want to rain on it. So if it starts sprinkling, I'll be throwing the tractor in park and running. And at least putting the power pack where it's not going to get rained on. But so just videos about other things. You know, there's definitely more to my life than just farming, that's for sure. Girls are really into softball. Judd's really into seashells and trying to get him into reading and other things. The girls are really into horses. Don't do any video. We have horse camp. You know, it's like the 5th week of horse camp. Don't do any videos of that stuff because there's other kids there. I don't want to have to get permission from parents to video their kids, and I don't want you know, parents mad at me because I videoed their kids, things like that. So we just don't do that. You know, we're not gonna. We used to take pictures at camp and post them. We haven't done that in the last couple years. A little bit of privacy, you know, for the kids that do come. You know, you never know. You might get a kid that's there, and I guess we'll go back and get that row. Might get a kid that's there that, you know, somebody sees that they're at horse camp and they want to come there and visit them, and you find out that it's their mom or dad or whatever, and they don't have right to do that, you know. So we just don't really. We try to keep that private. You know, we might post pictures of our own kids at horse camp, you know, but you know, that's kind of like a teacher thing. You know, we have to ask parents. You know, we do it the other way around. We send them a form, and it's like, if you don't want your kid photographed, send this form back. And then they don't do it, and so, well, then you have record that you sent it home, and you asked them, and if they don't respond, then you have permission. It's kind of a, but to do that for horse camp would be a pain. You know, it's only 4 days. I don't know, we could maybe add it to our enrollment form, but the problem is you get one kid that says no, and that ruins, that's what it does at school too. It ruins the opportunities for pictures because they're, oh, we're going to take a group picture. Oh yeah, but Sally can't be in it. So we have to take one with Sally that we can show whoever, and one without Sally, which we can show the other audience, you know. So I had that happen one time at school, one kid, and it's a pain. Anyway, just kind of bailing, chit-chatting about other stuff. Got this little section done. There's more up there above, but I think we're going to be able to get it done. Should be. I'd like to have it done in about an hour. That'd be good. I always want to keep track of time. I've always wanted to be like, oh, how many hours? I always think about it at the beginning of the season, where I want to know how many hours of mowing equals how many hours of raking equals how many hours of baling, you know, and I always forget. Somewhere along the line I'll be like, oh, mowing's easy. I can always be like, all right, I started mowing it. You know, I usually don't stop. Once I start, I usually don't stop. I might stop for lunch, but you know, usually don't stop. Whereas raking, you come out and you rake, and you rake as fast as you can, and you get it done, and then you run back and have lunch or whatever, get the baler ready to go, whatever, you know, kind of, so you lose track of exactly when. So I've never done it. Every year I think about trying, like, boy. So one of these days we're gonna remember, you know, because the thing is with all of it the way we do it, it's the same amount of hours. I mean, same amount of time, whether it's thick hay or thin hay. You know, the disc bine could mow the hay down, whether it's thick or thin, actually does better in thicker hay. And the raking 2 rows together, you know, same amount of time, whether it's thick or thin. So the only thing that would be different would be if you got more bales, it would take you longer to move them than normal, you know. And everybody always says, oh, round bale, it's so easy. Well, picking them all up sucks. I hate it. It is the worst job that there is. It's so, you just can't make, no matter what you do, you cannot make better time unless you have, you know, unless you have a way to, you know, automatic loading bale wagons, or automatic unloading bale wagons, or one that does both, or whatever. You just can't. And even then, you still reach a point where you can't do it any faster, and it just gets to be, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour a load, whatever. To do it efficiently, you got to have a tractor to load, a tractor to unload, truck or tractor to haul with. But anyway, that'll be good for baling. We'll pick up with the wrapper. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to hear anything wrapping or not. Probably play some music. So we'll pick back up with the wrapper, and then we'll do some kind of a summary or whatever at the end. Alright guys, not too bad. I don't know if you stuck around and watched the whole thing or not, but 47 minutes it took. Pretty sure I started the camera right at the very beginning. A little trouble with the cutter. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I tried it both ways, but I can't remember which way you're supposed to have the cutter, whether you're supposed to stop with the cutter in the back like this, or if you're supposed to do the white one in the back. There's a white and a blue, and that's a reason. I can't remember. But I had a little trouble with the cutter. I think this is right, because the cutter's supposed to come around and cut. Cutter's supposed to come around and cut this one off as it starts to wrap the next one. But we got one more bale to go. I forgot. We got one more bale. But so 47 minutes, 9 bales. I also had to reload the film and had a little trouble getting the bale off. I guess you do need the third link just to get just a little bit more height when you're dumping bales. But popping the clutch works pretty good too. I mean, it's wrapping great. They look great. I just having a little trouble with the cutter, but if it does, the problem is if it doesn't cut, then it comes around and it wraps. If it gets underneath, then it'll get wrapped up underneath. But then the other thing is if it cuts, but it cuts late, a couple of them did that, and you got that strip going down the side, and then you just can't get it to cover up. So I had to get off a couple times and cut that so that I could get it to cover up the part that was sticking out. Otherwise, you'd probably have, probably not a big deal, but you'd have a little tail sticking out that would be just a little bit of air, right? But I don't know what the drone got. We'll put the drone footage on here too. The drone was flying around by itself, and I forgot all about it. It went and landed by itself. Missed the mark by just a little bit, but it should got a little bit of something that stayed right there and watched. So there's the bales. They look pretty good. 9 bales, like I said. I got one more to put on I forgot about. Then we'll go haul some, but I don't know if we're going to have time to wrap the other ones, but we'll haul them up here probably and have them ready. We'll either wrap them later tonight or tomorrow morning. I checked the moisture in the last bale that I did, I think. Yeah, like I said, it's green. I got 25, 26, 27, 30 different moistures with my little wood contractor's moisture checker that you get at Home Depot, like 20 bucks. You know, it's better than nothing. If you can learn, like I said, if you can learn to read that and be accurate, then it's just as good as having a real expensive one, right? I mean, you know, you're not checking the center of the bale. You figure maybe the center is probably going to be a little bit warmer. So these are definitely what I would call wrap-worthy bales, right? I mean, they're good moisture. They should make some real nice baleage. So we're going to shut the camera off and we'll wrap the last one. We'll haul some more. Hope you liked the video. Hope you stayed around. I know it's noisy, but it's kind of cool. For me, it's a busy day. I got the video, 47 minutes to wrap 9 bales. So I figure, you know, 7 divided, you know, it's about 6 minutes a bale minus loading the plastic on there. So probably 5.5 minutes a bale, something like that. So at least I know, okay, if I haul them, now if I can figure out how much time it takes me to haul them, you know, I can definitely wrap 10 bales in an hour, right? So we say 45 minutes to wrap 10 bales. I think I made about 25, so I've got another hour and a half worth of wrapping to go. I think there's probably, well, I've probably made 30, so there's probably 30 bales over there, 20 bales over there. So I got another hour and a half of wrapping to go. So please like and subscribe to this video and stay tuned for more from Triple D Farms, Triple D Maple, and Triple D Cabins. Have a nice day.